glad to see the ones who found time to invest in their education today. Actually, just free time. I know you can always watch that later on, but still happy to see some familiar faces here. And today I'm glad to talk to you about a very important topic that we've chosen in our department. And it's going to be accuracy and fluency, as you know. And I'm going to switch off my camera and share this presentation with you. Just give me a second. Let's enter full screen. Yep. So, it's sometimes hard to speak when I don't see your friendly faces, but I'll try to do my best. So let's maybe begin, right? So, at the very start, I'd like to ask you this question. What are your goals as a language learner? And I would really appreciate that if you could share some of your thoughts in the comments. So we'll give you a second to think. And I'm sure that everyone here is really interested in improving their skills. But sometimes the route we take highly depends on the target you want to reach. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on the goals? Why are you doing that? It's actually why we have been doing that for ages, all of us here present. So I'm waiting for your comments. We can't go on if you can't decide that for yourself. So why are you learning this language? Maybe you don't need that. Don't be shy. Tell me everything you want to say. Why we need that. Okay, so talk to different people. That's great. Thank you. What else? So we have at least one person who knows why he's struggling or enjoying learning English. Come on, guys. Why are you doing that? Maybe you want other people to join and tell us. Maybe we should start the recording from scratch when everybody's ready. So that's all. Just to talk. Just talk. Eugene, glad to hear from you. Okay, watch movies with original sound and voices. Reading books. That's one of the popular topics, popular goals, let's say. Okay, if you still haven't made up your mind, maybe my next slide will give you some ideas, because these are the list of really popular goals. Yeah, of course, you've named a few. Let's move through my list a little bit. So if you look through, you will see that this list includes both general ideas like thinking in English, yeah, or more specific examples like passing an exam or getting a promotion. Yeah, you can focus on some practical goals or those which cover your self-actualization needs on the Maslow pyramid, like becoming more confident or being understood, being appreciated. Or sometimes people learn the language just to simply add one more way of entertainment, right? Like reading and watching the things you mentioned. Yeah. Some people just do it because they don't want to be bored. So you see a lot of things that can boost and motivate you to learn. So depending on your current level of English, your stage of life, your experience, and even the number of months you've been learning a language, well, let's be honest, maybe number of years would be more exact, you choose different goals, right? But if we think about all English speakers, or just in general speakers, there is one main goal of communication. So any ideas what the main goal of communication is? Why we all talk and communicate? Any ideas? You can also share with us in the comments. To share information. Okay, that makes sense. Any other thoughts? I know who'll get a star by the end of presentation, Eugene. Yeah, definitely. So share information. That's it. Mm-hmm. Okay, actually, it's kind of close to reality. Let's take a look. What understanding each other. Yeah, great. Thank you, Anna. So to successfully exchange information between the speaker and the receiver, and you see, I underlined the word successfully because it's not enough just to say what you think. You need to convey this message so that it is understood. Yeah, that is key factor here. Yeah. So let's see how it works in practice, right? Let's imagine that there is a hypothetical Jenny, and this girl has two lovely dogs, and she wants to say that she is a big fan of her dogs, right? So below you see 4 sentences. What do you think? Which of these sentences breaks the communication? Read them and send us a number of the sentence that breaks the communication and confuses, the receiver. You can decide for yourselves and share with us a few numbers or one number or nothing. Maybe you understand everything. 3, I see 3, yeah? Mm-hmm. Interesting, yeah. So what I have to say here is mostly 3. Okay. So regarding these sentences, I can say that 3 of these sentences are grammatically incorrect. These are sentences 1, 2, and 3. But only the first one breaks the communication. Because if people tell you like her dogs, like she dogs, we often say she, her, Jenny, it's all about the girl. But when you hear his dogs, you start questioning yourself. Is there one more dog in this situation? Is there a guy in this situation? How many dogs can I admire when I hear the sentence? Maybe there are more dogs, in the situation. That's the main thing. So the idea is that you get confused with the first one. I don't know why you chose third one. For me, it's quite clear that she likes she dogs. It's a kind of schoolboy error that people can make at the very big first stage of learning, right? So it's interesting. I will think about that, why you chose this option. Thank you for that. So what I have to say next, that sometimes some mistakes must be avoided because they can break the communication. But there are other mistakes, like number 2 and 3, that can be present. And although they are incorrect, they can still express this message that there is a girl and she has dogs and she likes them. Yeah. So that leads us to the next question. Should we take our time to remember about the S at the end, about choosing the correct pronoun like she, his, her, etc., and say it correctly, but more slowly, or we don't have to bother because we'll be understood anyway with these sentences. So what is important, which thing is more important for you? To be the first to shoot in a duel or to shoot later, but be precise and hit your target? So should we sacrifice our precious seconds for the sake of being accurate, or we just go as we are? Yeah. So today we're going to think about this global question, and we'll start alphabetically by going with or discussing accuracy. So what is accuracy? It is the ability to use correct, but not only grammar, as many people think, oh, it's only about grammar. No, it's also about vocabulary, pronunciation, and sentence structure. So when should we focus on our accuracy more than on fluency? On the right, you see a list of things that become key when accuracy becomes key, in our communication. So first of all, I'll make a few comments about each of them. At the initial stage of learning, so when you get the basics of any language, it's really important to focus on being correct. Yeah, so not to make bad habits in your speech. Yeah, to remember correct patterns. Next point is business talks and negotiations. So I would say that small mistakes can have a detrimental effect on your image and the future of your business even. Yes, so you should be really careful when you're dealing with business, serious business, right? And be accurate. Informal writing, like essays, reports, and emails, where you have to sound professional, of course, it should be more important than fluency. Yep. Public speaking, like presentations and taking part in conferences. I would say that subconsciously, if a person is speaking with mistakes, it can ruin the credibility of what this person is saying. In other words, the more beautiful and correct language sparks more confidence in the audience, in you actually, from the audience. So it doesn't matter sometimes what you're saying, but how you're doing that. And the next point here would be exams like TOEFL and IELTS, international English exams or other exams, where every mistake counts. Of course, we have to focus on accuracy. And the last point here, last but not least, language refinement for professional reasons. So refinement is when you weed out and get rid of mistakes, when you beautify your language just because you want it. It's your personal goal, let's say, to sound really always correct, let's say. Why not perfectionists? Welcome to my club, I guess. Yeah. So if these reasons sound fit for you, here's what we can do to work on our accuracy, which brings us to the next list, ways to improve that. So the first point here is drills and gap fills and paraphrasing. So these are one of the main and basic, and I think sometimes unavoidable methods of working on your accuracy. So, for example, can you find a person, a language learner, who has never done a task, open brackets and use past simple in all sentences, right? So, mainly, of course, they focus on grammar drilling, but things like paraphrasing, when you have to use target vocabulary, active vocabulary instead of your typical ways, help you to sound more accurate. For example, when you work on accuracy, it's important to dive into the meaning of the word. For example, have you ever thought of the differences between the words get and gain, or shake and tremble, or essential and major? They both mean important, but when to use which? These are the questions you should ask yourself. Yep. Next point is practicing specific structures and collocations. So the idea is that you should not just do a task, but try to use the target language and make a meaningful effort to use the things you're trying to adopt, into your language. As for number 3, proofreading and reviewing your writing. So these things not only will they increase your chances of fixing errors, but will also give you time to choose the exact words and new constructions. So when you take time to think, you can get rid of mistakes. So proofreading everything you send your teacher, you send emails, right? Always take a time to reread, avoid typos, but not only that, it gives you time to think about how you present your information, how it sounds. Yep. Number 4 is getting feedback. So you can always ask teachers or friends or native speakers to correct you on the go. Sometimes it's really important because it helps you to eliminate the mistake, get rid of it on the fly, and not to let it get rusty and sink in and stick to you, right? So sometimes it's important to correct it during your speech. Mindful learning and self-reflection. So the word mindful means that you invest your time, your resources, your mental resources, that you're interested in sounding correct. So try to, one more thing important here is to listen to yourself when you're speaking, what you're saying, and how you're putting it into words, most importantly. Next one is focusing on one correction at a time. So as they say, you cannot catch one Pokemon, two Pokemons with one Pokeball. Yeah. So don't try to get them all, catch them all, as they say. Try to focus on one thing at a time and invest your mental energy into always spotting this S in present simple, for example, he, she. Yeah, I'm giving this example because it's one of the most typical examples that students, even at high levels of language acquisition, suffer from, unfortunately. Yes, so focus on that and try to do something to fix it. Number 7 is thinking before saying. So when you work on accuracy, it's important to take your time, and before you start shooting like a machine gun, don't rush, take a breath, think, and give your brain time to load and formulate that without mistakes. Yep. Um, One more thing here on the list, yeah, is fighting your pet peeves and fossilized errors. So fossilized error, that's the error that got stuck with you. And fossilized error is something that is really hard, really difficult to get rid of, both for teachers and students. I mean, yeah, to fix that. So your pet peeve means that it annoys you personally. It's your problem, yeah, and it can be different for different people. So the task here is to identify it and make an effort to get rid of it. And I should say here that no teacher can help you unless you focus on it and notice it and try to eliminate it. So you need to use a mental power and think before you say, right? Okay, so however important accuracy might be, you will not get far if it takes you ages to build your sentences, right? So let's take a look at fluency in more detail. And on the right, you will see that fluency is the ability to speak and understand the language smoothly, easily, and without excessive pauses or hesitation. So your grammar may not be perfect, but you are able to keep the conversation flowing. And when we talk about fluency, it's not only about speed, it's about the rhythm, the natural flow, the coherence, how you can connect things, how you use linkers, like, for example, the words on the one hand, or because, although, despite, these kind of things. Yeah. And how you link sentences together also. And your confidence is also a part of fluency, and of course the ability to improvise. So we should say that fluency is key when it comes to casual conversations where everybody is relaxed, no one is counting your mistakes, right? And actually other people are also making mistakes, which leads us to the next point, making friends. Who cares how you speak if it's more important what you're saying, yeah, and how fast you can express yourself before your friends start interrupting you, right? So finding business partners in semi-casual settings. Here it's important to remember that talking about business partners in the English-speaking world, not all of them are native speakers, and they are also the command of English for them is also may not be perfect, so they may not hear all your mistakes. But if you have a smile, if you have a pleasant personality, and it can be more important than just correct grammar or patterns and not making mistakes in general, right? Working in an international development team, here, of course, a lot of you know that people are united by one goal to develop the product, right? To work together. So, of course, nobody, how to say, nobody focuses a lot on sounding correct, just to conveying or expressing their thoughts. So, fluency is really important here. As for next point, sounding confident, here the idea is that if you don't get stuck on every few seconds, and you can shape your thoughts fast, you will definitely spark confidence in the audience. So a person who is speaking freely, he will maybe boost your he will boost his credibility, let's say. Yeah. And people will believe more. Well, at least it's more likely that they will believe what he's saying or she's saying, right? And one more point here is improvising. So sometimes speed is more important because you have to be able to brainstorm, discuss, and exchange ideas in general. Yeah, react fast and not only speak fast but also understand the people fast. So how to achieve fluency? Yeah, a question I get asked very often: how to become top gun in the world of language speakers? So the first 3 points: free discussions, debates, and role plays, and storytelling. Here, the main goal is to speak. So you have to focus on finding good arguments, on imagining things, on proving something. So you focus more on what you're saying, and you need to say it fast. But it's not only about the rhythm, as I said. Yeah, just to connect your ideas logically, for example. And such tasks really help you to mentally think and develop this habit of building arguments, of expressing your thoughts, of apologizing, for example, things like that. Number 4 here is timed tasks. So, of course, when you set a time limit, your brain thinks, okay, I have to say it fast, fast, fast. And you try to ignore the mistakes. Yeah. So, when you only have 1 minute to speak. So, such tasks can come in handy. I can give one more example of a task I checked with my students. When you say the same, it's called 3-2-1. When you have a question, you answer it like, for example, okay, pets. Yeah. So speak for 3 minutes about your pets or about your childhood memories. So you have 3 minutes. Then you change partners and say the same, but in 2 minutes. And lastly, in 1 minute, the same thing. So it may sound a bit weird or boring, but actually it's not if you think about the result. Because, first of all, in the first 3 minutes, you have to think what to say and how to say it. In 2 minutes, you focus, you know already what you need to say. So you focus more on remembering and saying it faster. And you've already chosen the tools and the words you want to use. And in 1 minute, you have to say the same bit of information, but really fast, and you're really ready for that. And if you compare how many things you managed to fit into 1 minute, you can be surprised because you can sometimes even add information at the end. Yeah, some new information you haven't mentioned before. So you can try that even at home, actually. So, what else to say here? Yeah, number 5, getting into same conversational situations. It clicks a little bit with the previous task, but in general, when it can refer to discussing the same topic for a few classes or returning to the topics after a while. But in general, it also means that when the person is present in the same situation, for example, lunchtime, guys, everybody's telling, enjoy your meal and how was your day? So the typical things you say and the typical answers you give help you to improve fluency because you don't think what you're going to say. You don't construct that from zero, like, what should I say now? Yeah. You always talk about the weather. You always talk about your weekend because you always asked, how is your day? So, of course, you will say it fast without much thinking. Number 6, giving full answers. So I always recommend my students to avoid saying yes or maybe. Yeah, always say why. Always use your chance to speak more. Which leads us to the next one. Yeah, speaking as much as possible. Both inside or outside classroom, find a friend to talk to, practice with your spouse, yeah, and talk to me in the hall. I'm always for a small chit chat, that. Number 8, don't be afraid of making mistakes. The main idea of improving fluency is to set your perfectionism, to the background a little bit and focus just speaking. And the main idea, it's all in your head. It's really important. It's connected to number 9, I think, friendly atmosphere. So you should think about the fact that nobody's judging you. Everybody's interested in what you're saying. And actually, in general, I think that in the English-speaking world, people are more, let's say, maybe tolerant or more friendly. Default setting is being friendly, even though it may not be always true. But you still see that people will wait for you to finish the sentence. They will, listen to you. And the idea is that don't be afraid of being judged. You're not judged. I know a few native speakers, nobody ever corrected anyone around them. People always they struggle around them to speak. Yeah, there are always mistakes they can hear in people, but nobody's ever correcting. So it's fine. We all speak with mistakes. Teachers also have some mistakes sometimes. You just don't know. You don't notice them, maybe. Yeah. So relax, chill. It's all in your head. And why I put the picture of Tom Cruise here in the role of a Top Gun pilot, because the more time you invest in your speaking, the faster and more fluently and more habitual your English will become. Yep. Okay, that was quite a thing. And I have some, I know that here we have attentive and very invested speakers. And I think by now you have already realized that, of course, we have to develop both the skills and how to kill two birds with one stone. So this is my next issue. Good news. We can do that. We can work on both of them. How? Let's take a look. So learning collocations. What does that mean? Collocations are two or more words that work together well. Yeah. So instead of saying get with the word sightseeing, we should say go sightseeing. And when you learn collocation, why it's killing two birds with one stone? Because first of all, you're not building phrases from scratch. You already know that I want to talk about visiting place, so I went sightseeing. You already take the ready-made phrase and insert it into your speech. That means your brain doesn't have to think and choose, make this choice, yeah, go or get. So you already know that. It's one thing good about collocations. And secondly, you, okay, I need to breathe out a little bit, a second. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, not building collocations from scratch. Yeah, and also you remember the grammar, right? So that we have go plus ing, for example. Well, in this case, yeah, you when you remember the whole phrase, for example, you avoid making mistakes because your brain already remembers how it sounds. Yeah, so you don't need to proofread or check it. Next point is using ready-made phrases. So collocations are usually shorter. Ready-made phrases are phrases like functional language that you use in specific surrounding. For example, let's start if you want to start. I'm sorry if you're apologizing. Yeah, you don't think I is or I am, right? You just say I'm sorry because it's what people usually say, right? And also here about I think, yeah, that will be enough here. So next point is singing. Yep. I know that some of you have issues with singing. Well, the good news is you don't have to perform on stage, guys. It's only for your own benefit. You can do it in the shower, in the room, outside, whatever, or in the classroom, of course, I never mind. So why singing is so cool? I would say the main thing is about speed. Well, when you're trying to keep up with the rhythm, you really have to pronounce things fast. Like, of course, I'm not talking about Eminem, but even Red Hot Chili Peppers, yeah, or Dua Lipa. They have songs where you have to struggle to keep up. And one more good thing about singing is that songs are full of beautiful, nice phrases, ready-made collocations, even grammar patterns. If you hear the song, I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? Have you ever seen? It really gets stuck in your head. Have you ever seen? You will not say, have you ever, or did you ever, or something. Yeah. Have you ever seen it? If you know the song, by the way, maybe you should learn it and avoid making this mistake, guys, if you still make it. Okay. Next point is learning from films. It's a little bit different from songs. What is important here is that very often we have conversations and we can pick up intonation, yeah, how people speak, what the rhythm of the language is, which words they stress. And you should know by now that English and Russian intonation are different. Yeah. So what else we can pick up from there is, of course, collocations. And ready-made functional phrases, of course, functional language like she said, get lost, or good for you, or you poor thing. And you see, oh, she wanted to show that she sympathizes with him. He's in trouble, poor thing. Yeah, show some compassion. So you just pick up this kind of stuff from films very easily, because to remember a phrase in general or some specific word, it's a proven fact that we remember better when it was used in some kind of context, or for higher levels when there is some kind of issue that we discuss. For example, a recent example, we discussed hedonic treadmill with my students in B2, and I'm sure if they hear it now, they will recreate the things we discussed about hedonic treadmill. And for them, it's easier to understand what it is and how it works, because there is a whole layer of information connected to this phrase. Let's say phrase. So you see, you can learn that not only from films, but also from our classes. Next thing is repeating things out loud. Um, Guys, there is nothing wrong in talking to yourselves. It's okay, nobody will judge you. Actually, what I mean here is that the more times you pronounce physically, open your mouth and pronounce things, the more habitual it becomes. You get used to that. For example, if I think about Polish, I can easily understand it. And when I want to say something, I realized that my tongue is a little bit rusty. So I have to struggle to put it in the correct place for some sounds, which are not specific for our Russian or Belarusian or English language, right? So the same with English. This sounds like maths. Yeah, the people struggle with interdental sounds or root sounds. So it's important to physically speak a lot. And what else we can repeat? So when you're watching a film, you can repeat after the speaker some nice phrases like, oh, you poor thing. You practice intonation also. Yeah. In this case, what else? If the teacher corrects you in the classroom, always try to repeat it without mistake. First of all, you get rid of your, well, try at least, yeah, to make an effort to get rid of your fossilized error. Or you're just fixing your pronunciation of a new word. For example, I remember how we struggled with the word workaholism. Guys, do you remember that class? Got stuck in my memory. So repeat for yourself at home new words. You can read even something out loud, not like, sit down and read for an hour. It's really hard and doesn't make much sense, I think. Because you stop thinking about what you're reading. But actually just practice a little bit, take your time to read out the sentences you wrote, or an article you had to do as home task. Why not? It's about pronouncing things, as you see. And giving feedback in class, I put a smiley face there because I've often come across this kind of opinions of my students that giving feedback is boring. What I mean by feedback is when I ask students to say, what have you learned about your partner? Or what have you found out? What conclusion have you made? What do you have in common? So people sometimes get a little bit bored. I don't get why. Because for me, it's killing two birds with one stone. Why? First of all, you have a chance to use target vocabulary you've been practicing, just now. So you already know what you're going to say because you've heard this idea. So it will take you shorter time to pronounce this phrase. It means fluency, right? So it's both accuracy and fluency. And well, that's the main point. Yeah, you practice both when you do it. And also you're making a mental effort to compare or contrast things when you're trying to find something in common or opposite, for example, or something new. So it's mental activity, and mental activity is really paramount in our life in general, I believe. So next time I ask you for feedback in class, take your chance to improve and speak, right? Okay. So of course, definitely, in a perfect world, we should develop both, right? However, if we wrap up, depending on your current goals that we discussed today, you might want or need to work on accuracy more than fluency. For example, when you're preparing for an exam or for an important meeting, right? Or when you just want to talk to someone. So, which one to choose, right? That's the question. I'm not asking you here to choose right now for yourself, yeah, although it's a good thing to think about. But I want you to think which letter I put on the next slide for my students, let's say. So who will win in this battle, in my opinion? Can you guess my next slide? Can you please share in the comment which letter should appear on the next slide? I'll give you a second. I hope somebody is still there because I can't see you, but I'm really hopeful to hear what you think will appear next. Which letter? Okay, AF, FA. It's 2 letters, by the way, guys. A. That's it. Aha, okay. A, F, F. So actually, the it's like a draw. F, mostly F. Okay, guys. The answer. Where is my drum roll? Is U. Oops, that was a trap. So what is my idea here? My main takeaway. Whichever you choose to improve your accuracy or your fluency, the winner in this battle will be you, because you set the goal, you choose what to improve, and you take an active part. So the winner is obviously you. Congratulations, you have won. Yeah. So thank you. And thank yourself for watching this presentation today. And I wish everybody to reach their goals and be proud and happy with your achievements. That's it. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, of course, yeah, I have a last slide question time. So thanks. Okay. So any questions? No, I can read your comments and breathe out a little bit. Anything you would like to ask? Maybe I didn't cover something. Why is Eugene so sad? What's with the sad face? Didn't guess the answer? A, you chose A. So I guess that's it, yeah? Okay. But you didn't use your time to speak, guys, as I advised you. Time to improve our... Yeah, exactly. Let's go. You want to talk? Let's talk. Let's go. You mean like go home, yeah? Work on your fluency. I guess, Victoria, maybe next time. Yeah, next time we meet. You're quite fluent anyway. You should work on your accuracy, Eugene. Okay. So, Victoria, I think that's enough. If they choose, what should teachers focus on? It depends. If it's an individual class, you should focus on the goals of your student, of course. But as I said, you have to try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I would say that. Or you mean like from teachers, like we as teachers, what should we improve? If you mean that, no?
I mean, like if students choose what is more important for them, accuracy or fluency, how teachers should, handle this situation. Focus more on accuracy or fluency of the students.
So if they choose fluency, you focus on fluency. If they choose accuracy, you work on their accuracy.
Okay. So just
because, for example, if we take our goals, our students' goals, I want to prepare for a presentation, or I want to pass an exam. Of course, you work on accuracy, right? If it's a written exam. If you need to work on a foreign project, so priority will be fluency, I believe. Depending on the goal, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So that improved her fluency. just now. And we have a newcomer. Oh, what fun. Okay. So, any other questions? You can just, guys, speak if you have a question. No. Okay, so I'm done then. Thank you. Victoria?
Okay, thanks, Ksenia, for your presentation.
welcome.
Thank you guys for joining us, and have a nice evening. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.